In this session, we are discussing the concept GUI programming with swing, or you can say how to create visualizations with swing. So, that is a part of the subject programming with Java for UG 5th semester students, that is common for BA, BCom, BSc students. Then before start the concept of swing, you must understand what is visualization, what is GUI and what is CUI. So, CUI means character user interface. CUI is a short form for the character user interface and GUI is a short form for the graphical user interface. Before going to discuss about the GUI, if you know CUI, you can understand this concept in better way. CUI means character user interface. For example, MS-DOS. MS-DOS is a very good example for the CUI environment. When you open MS-DOS, you may observe that a blank screen and with characters only. So, whatever the input you want to give to that, you must use keyboard input based environment. You must use command to perform any task. For example, if you want to create a folder, you need to use a command like mkdir. You must type it with help of the keyboard. You must type it mkdir, make directory space that folder name. So, this is the procedure you must follow to create the folder. Like that, if you want to rename the folder, if you want to copy any document, you must write a command, that is command based. So, a programmer only can do that. A normal user cannot work with MS-DOS because a skill is needed for that. So, that is a drawback of CUI environment. That is why the GUI based environment came into the picture. So, what is the advantage of GUI and what is GUI? As I said just now, this is graphical user interface. So, here we are using some graphical related icons, menus, images, labels. So, with help of that, the user can easily understand that. So, let me give an example. Suppose how to create a folder in MS Windows, Microsoft Windows operating system. Probably everyone knows that, right? Who are working with computer system, they may have the idea how to create a folder in Windows operating system. Right click, you can use mouse as a input device here. Right click on the new folder, right? So, if you compare the task or procedure what we are following in CUI and GUI, creating the folder in GUI based environment is very easy. Just click here and new folder is created. So, everyone can do that. No particular skills are required to work with GUI. Everyone can easily understand that. But coming to the CUI, skills are needed. You must remember commands. Okay. So, that is the advantage of GUI here. Even though a person may not have the programming skills or computer skills, can work with that application if that application has the GUI. A good example is our Android phone also. Okay. In the Android phone also we have different type of the GUI elements. Suppose if you want to open WhatsApp, how to open WhatsApp? Just tap on the WhatsApp icon. Are you writing any command to open the WhatsApp? Generally no need, because that is GUI based environment. Just simply you can tap the icon, and if you want to send the any message, tap on the send button. So, all these are the elements of GUI. So, finally you must understand that in GUI based we are using some buttons, some images, some menus with which user can easily understand that application, and that is very user friendly, so that many of the users can easily use that. That is the advantage of GUI, right? So, now how can we develop this type of the GUI application with help of the Java, right? How to create that buttons, how to create images, how to create labels. For that we have different type of the concept in Java. One of the concept is swings. With help of this swing concept, we can create the components. Here component is like a push button, radio button, checkbox, all those are called components technical. Then we can use AWT also. AWT, Abstract Windows Toolkit. This is also one of the kit, as the name suggests, this is a kit. With help of that we can create the components, button, radio button, combo box, checkbox, labels, like that we can create the GUI components. As I said just now, AWT stands for Abstract Window Toolkit. This is one of the API, Application Programming Interface, where the API is nothing but collection of the classes and interface. With help of those classes and interfaces, we can create different type of the user graphical user interface related elements like menus, buttons and so on. This AWT is developed by the Sun Microsystem in the year of 1995. So, this is basically used to develop GUI components and it is heavy weighted. Heavy weight means it takes more resources to create and execute, and it contains large number of classes and methods. Those are used to create the GUI elements. Yes, those are the advantages of the AWT, but we have some limitations also for the AWT, Abstract Window Toolkit. Those are, the buttons of AWT does not support pictures. Whenever you are working the buttons, push buttons generally called, we cannot use image format buttons. And as I tell you already, these are heavy weight in nature. It takes more memory, more time to execute, more time to load. And two very important components, trees and tables, are not present. Suppose if you want to represent any data in the form of the tabular format, that component is not available in the AWT. And the next one is, it is a platform dependent. This is also very important point. You must remember that AWT components are platform dependent. What does it mean in this context? Suppose I developed a GUI environment, user interface. I created buttons, some buttons in Windows operating system. For example, if you are trying to execute the same application in Linux operating system, the appearance of the buttons might be varied from Windows operating system to Linux operating system, because AWT is developed based on the C language, and C language is the platform dependent language. So, that is why all these AWT components also platform dependent. You may observe some slight differences when you move from one operating system to another operating system. That is why you may not predict the appearance correctly. So, that is the major limitations of the AWT. Then, what is swing in Java? So, as I said already, swing is also one of the tool. With help of that we can create the commands. Swing provides a rich set of the widgets and packages to make the GUI very user friendly. AWT concept and GUI concepts are same. Those two can be used to develop the GUI interface, but we have some limitations in the AWT, as I covered just now, that is platform dependent. Some type of the components like trees or tables are not available. That is why we have the swing concept, where we have very good features compared to the AWT, and more components are added here when compared to the AWT. That is the importance of the swing concept in Java. And swing is a part of JFC, Java Foundation Classes. Here JFC is a API for the GUI programming, and it has a rich library. Java Swing contains a rich library, and it is built on top of AWT. Nothing but all the AWT features are available, plus extra features are also added. Swing is a set of APIs. Nothing but API is a collection of different classes and interfaces, and we can provide good designs with help of these swings, and we can improve the appearance of the applications with help of these swings. Swing can be used to build or develop the standalone Swing GUI apps, also as a servlet and applets. In simple terms, we can use Swing concept to develop the GUI applications and servlets and applets also. It implies MVC architecture, model view controller architectures. And very important point is Swing is entirely written in the Java, entirely written by using Java programming language. As I covered just now, AWT is completely developed based on the C language. That's why that is platform dependent. We have that limitations in that I covered just now. Now the point is Swing is completely developed using Java programming language only, as we know that Java is platform independent. That's why all these Swing components also platform independent. Even though you are trying to executing the same application on different operating system, you may not find any differences. So that is the major advantage in Swing concept. And Swing components are very lightweighted. The meaning of the lightweight in this context is Swing components uses very less amount of the resources. That's why it takes less time to execute. Then let me tell you some of the features of the Swing. Platform independence. Just now we covered, right? All Swing components are platform independent. Rich set of components. It supports so many different type of the components like trees and tables also. Other than this, it supports all the components supported by the AWT also. Layout manager, this is very important feature. While you are working with any application, with help of the layout managers, we can place the components in a proper place. Swing includes a set of layout managers that facilitate the arrangement of the component within a container. The general scenario with when you are working with the Swing concept is you must take one container. Within that container, you can create the components. So here we have different type of the containers in the layout concept. In that container, you can place the different type of the components. Layout managers automatically adjust the position and size of the components based on the container size. This is very good feature we have with help of the layout manager. Based on the size of the component, that will be adjusted automatically, ensuring consistent behavior across different screen resolution and devices. Even though you are executing that application in the mobile or in desktop or in high resolution devices also, you may not get any alignment related problems, because it has layout manager concept. With help of the layout manager concept, automatically the size and positions will be adjusted. So if time permits, we will discuss that layout manager concepts also. Next feature of the Java Swing is event handling. Event is simply nothing but one action. For example, whenever you are filling any registration form, online registration form, after filling your complete data, finally you need to click on submit button, right, in general. So that clicking on that submit button is called an event. That is one type of the action in simple terms. Swing provides a robust event handling mechanism that allows developers to respond to user interactions. So suppose you clicked on X button, one type of the action will be implemented. Suppose you placed your mouse in a text box, another type of the actions will be implemented. So depending on the user interaction, different type of the actions will be implemented. So this is the concept of event handling. Then coming to the layout managers, as I said just now, one of the good feature of the Swing concept is layout manager. Let us discuss few points about the layout managers. The class that is responsible for determining the size and position of each component within a container based on set of the rules or algorithm is called layout manager in the Java. Every layout works depending on some algorithms, depending on some rules. Based on that, components will be arranged automatically. The layout manager in Java takes into account the size of container and the preferred size of the components as well. So, depending on these two constraints, automatically the GUI interface will be developed. And we have different type of the layouts in Java. Let us discuss few of them. Border layout. The layout manager, border layout, divides the container. Container means where we can place components. Just like suppose if you want to keep fruits in a plate is container. Like that, in the Java Swing concept also, you must take one container first, and within that container we can create the components like buttons, labels, text boxes, so on, right. Now, the layout manager, border layout, divides the containers 5 regions, nothing but in the border layout divides that container in the 5 parts, 5 regions into the north, south, east, west and center. These are the 5 regions. Okay. This layout divides the containers into 5 regions. When a component is added into this container, it is put in one of these regions, as we covered just now, that has 5 regions now. One of the region may have that component and fills that entire region. One by one, all the regions will be filled with the components. The old component is replaced by the new one if a component is added to the region that is already has one. Let me show you that image related to the border layout. See, the complete box is a layout, border layout. Okay. So, in this border layout, this is a border layout, right. So, this border layout is used to divide the complete container into 5 regions: north, west, center, east, south. So, you can add the component in these 5 regions. Okay. So, it gives some good alignment. For example, if you add any component in any particular region, and if you want to add any component to the in existing region, the existing component will be overridden. So, this is about border layout. Second category of the layout is flow layout. So, this is a layout manager, one of the layout managers, and in this it is used to arrange the components in a row, adding a additional rows as needed. In simple terms, the components are added in a row wise, first row, second row, third row, fourth row, like that the components are added in the row manner in this layout manager. And the direction is from left to right. Suppose in the first row, from left to right, first component is added. If the row is filled with the components, the second row is started. In the second row also, the components are added from left to right. Let me show you the image, you can understand it easily. See now, here I am using only one row, but you can add multiple rows also. And you can observe that here I am adding one component by using the number 1. This is the first component. You can easily understand that this is the first component. And the direction is left to right now. First component is added at the left end. After that, the second component is added, third component and so on. Whenever it reaches to ending point of the first row, after that still if you want to add the component, second row is created. In the second row also, from left to right you can add the component. So, this is about flow layout manager. Next one is grid layout. So, the layout manager, grid layout, arranges elements in a grid of rows and columns. In simple terms, it is used to store the components in the table manner. See this is a grid layout. Then the layout manager is created with a specified number of the rows and a specified number of the columns, and components are added one at a time, filling each grid cell from the left to right and top to bottom. In simple terms, so this is a grid layout structure. It has rows and columns, predefined number of the rows and columns we have, and if you want to add the components from left to right like this, that is valid. Okay. And if you want to add from top to bottom also you can. This is about grid layout. So, that is about the different type of the layouts concept. And coming to the swing class hierarchy diagram, what are the different type of the swing classes are available in Java. Object is a top level class, and within that we have components and containers. Within that we have the window is a container, and J component is also one of the container, and within the window container again we have a frame, dialog. All these are the containers, and these are the classes. Blue color represent containers, this light yellow color represent classes. The classes are used to create the components, and the containers are used to place the components. So, while you are working with the swing concept, while you are writing the coding, first you create any container. Within that container you can create the components. So, observe here J frame, J dialog, J component, J text, J label, J list, J menu bar, all these are the classes. Okay. With help of these classes you can create different type of the components. Already I covered just now containers. So, what is container? What is container class? We have the different type of the container classes. These containers are used to store the different type of the components. Let me tell you about some type of the containers. First one is panel. Panel is one type of the container. It is a pure container and it is not a window in itself, nothing but it does not have the windows structure. Like in Windows we have minimize, maximize, close button, but we may not have that in the panel, but we can store multiple components in the panel. Frame, second type of the container is frame. It is fully functioning window with its title and icons. The meaning of this is how we have the window in Windows operating system that has the title, minimize button, maximize button and closing button. In the same way, the frame container has all these facilities. Then dialog, dialog is also one of the container. It can be thought of like a pop-up window. For example, when you are working with any application, suppose there is an error, you may get some pop-up box na. So, like that it has the shape dialog box, and dialog is one of the container where we can store multiple components in this also. So, let me show you a simple swing program, then you can get an idea how to write a code in Java related to the swing concept. So, here my requirement is creating one button and adding that button to the JFrame object inside the main method. See the code: import java x dot swing dot start semicolon. This is the statement where we can use this statement to import all the swing related classes and interfaces. And here my class name is main. You can take any name, but in this example I am using the class name as main. And as per the standard rules of the Java, public static void main string arguments is common. Within that, this is important point, JFrame is a class name and F is a object name. Assignment, new operator is used to create the object, and JFrame. This is used to create a frame. JFrame means it is a container. As I said just now, first we need to create one container. We created about the frame. Now, frame is one type of the container, and within that container we can create any type of the components like radio button, checkbox button, so on. But in this example, just I am creating a button. Please remember the classes I have shown to you just now. We need to use those class names to create the buttons, checkboxes and so on. If you want to create the button, you can use JButton class. If you want to create radio button, JRadio button, okay, JList for the list. Like that you can use the classes. JButton class name, B is the object name, assignment new JButton. JButton is created and the display text on that button. Generally we observe submit button, payment button, right. So, like that, in this case I want to give a name for the button click. The word click is displayed on the button. Now, set the bounds x axis, y axis, these two are, and width and height, these two are. We need to set the bounds of that button. Simply shape, size, we need to set that. After that, that created component must be added to your container. That will not be added automatically. For that, we need to use a predefined method called add. In the 7th statement, I am writing that statement f dot add b. What is b? B is the object of j button. So, that button is added to the frame. That is the meaning of this 7th statement. After that, I need to set the frame size also. For that, we need to call the predefined method set size, width and height. Width is 400 and height is 500, right. Then set the layout. In this example, I am not using any particular layout, that is why I am using null, using no layout manager, okay. And even though if you write this complete code, the you may not get any output actually. If you run this code, you may not get any output. The reason behind this is all these are invisible by default. You need to make it as a visible. For that, we need to write one more statement like f dot set visible true. Frame is going to be visible when you are going to execute this code. Suppose if you forget to write the 10th statement, if you run this code, you won't get any output. That is why you should not forget to write this statement f dot set visible true, then the frame is created, button is created, that will be visible to you. So, this is the sample code where we can create button. Like that, you can create different type of the components, and already we discussed the different type of the classes names. Observe here. In this, I used j button. In our example, the code what we discussed just now, we use j button. Like that, you can use all these classes. J text is used to create the text box, j combo box is used to create the drop down list, j label is used to create the labels. So, I strongly suggest you to work with all these classes, okay. The coding syntax is same, class name, create the object and call that, add that component to the container and set visible, set the sizes. These are the common rules you need to follow while working with the swing concept. Then let me recall what we covered in this session in brief. We started the concept swing. Before that, we must have the idea about the CUI, GUI. CUI is the character based interface. You need to write command for each and every operation. It is very difficult to the normal user. GUI is graphical user interface. Even though that person is not skilled person, they can use the applications. For that, we use GUI, like mobile phones, one of the example of the GUI example. And to develop the GUI application in Java, we use AWT and Swing. AWT stands for Abstract Window Toolkit, but we have some limitations in the AWT. Those are AWT is platform dependent, that is a major limitation. To overcome that, we use Swing concept. Swing is a platform independent, so you can develop the application. You may not find any difference between the different operating system whenever you are trying to execute the same application in the different operating systems, and this is purely developed in the Java itself. That is why it has a great features. So, this is about Swing concept, and try to execute the code about the remaining classes also. Thank you.